Welcome to another transformative episode of Inner Peace, Better Health, where we explore the deeper dimensions of personal well being. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Dr. Lenka Schulze, an entheologist, author, and spiritual guide whose work blends metaphysics, consciousness, and grounded healing with extraordinary clarity. As the first medical intuitive to collaborate with an integrative physician in Southwest Florida, Lenka has devoted her life to helping people reconnect with their first sense, intuition, the soul's primary language. Today, together we journey into how intuition shapes health, how consciousness eliminates our hidden wounds, and how spiritual healing reconnects us to the self we were always meant to be. Dr. Lenka, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure to be.
truly, truly. It's our pleasure. Thank you. So, Dr. Lenka, you describe intuition as the soul's language. How can someone who feels disconnected from themselves begin to recognize the first sense again?
It's a beautiful question, I have to say, and definitely the one we need to start with. The first question I would ask is, do you even know you have a soul? Many of us still believe there is some kind of abstract concept, some fairy tale, but it isn't. It is something very, very
Mm,
tangible to people who are innately connected to it. So if people want to speak the language of the soul, they first need to recognize that it actually exists.
true. Yes, very well said. So, Dr. Lenka, have you noticed whether intuition first returns through subtle sensations or through more profound inner shifts?
I would say both would be correct.
Mm,
The language of intuition is through the senses of the invisible. So everybody can see with their physical eyes. They can hear with the physical ears. They can touch things with their hands and can sense things. But intuition hears with the inner ears. They could see with the inner eye, and they can sense with the subtle bodies, the spiritual bodies. Many traditions call it the ka body. But if people are trying to see, let's say they want to harness the senses of clairvoyance and see things, many of them think that they're going to actually have open eyes and they will see things physically the way they do with physical eyes. It's not necessarily the same. It is it is being seeing things, but it's more with the inner eye, with the third eye. And it's almost like another screen shows up that is on top of the one you already live in. And some people don't even have to have their eyes closed to see that. But you also had to mention sensing. Our bodily functions definitely are very sensitive, and if we connecting, let's say, with the gut feeling, as so many of us recognize intuition to be, that is correct as well. I find
mm,
that we have levels of intuition, and many of the basics intuition, let's say the instinctual intuition, is written so deeply in our brain that you can't beat that out of you. It's always there to
mm,
survive, to run from the danger, and that is intuition. But then if you have the universal intuition that you are connected to the whole universe, and subtle senses and subtle knowing, that is ultimately the one of the highest level of intuition. So you could see there's so many of
mm.
levels, and they're all correct. It just depends on the level of consciousness that particular person holds in that given time. And the intuition also fluctuates. So for example, let's just say that you are very attuned to the um, universal consciousness, the universal intuition. However, you are in danger. So your senses will immediately go into, it's almost like multidimensional travel. You immediately go into that particular intuition to save your life because it's physical. So see, if it's a very abstract thought process, but to me, it makes sense.
Yes, yes. And I feel like That clarity can help listeners trust the early signs along with the dramatic revelations that occur through profound inner shifts, right?
Correct, exactly. As when you learn how to recognize numbers, 1, 2, 3, and then you go into 100 and 1,000, then you can calculate, right? You can
Mm.
calculate if you do not know the numbers. And with the intuition is the same way. You learn the subtleness, you recognize the subtleness, you honor the subtleness, the power in it. And
Mm.
the intuition will be building on top of that. And the intuition comes um not like smacking you by four, but it's more like nudging. It's more like
Mhm.
um gently tapping you on the shoulder and whispering to you. It's not screaming at you. So many people discount those kind of senses or messages that they get because
Mm.
they are waiting for some big, huge revelations and big signs from the universe, like angels going to show up with the wings next to their bed at night. And it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that often we discount the powerful but subtle
Yes.
senses that come forward every single day.
True, true. I feel like we often ignore those subtle signs, especially when life gets heavy. Which brings me to your work, Dr. Which your work blends metaphysics with practical healing. How do you help people bridge the gap between expansive concepts like consciousness and the everyday struggles they face?
Good question. I would say that we have to realize both worlds, the physical and the metaphysical. And when we are bridging those two worlds, we need to know that both of them are very valid, both of them are very important into the balance that we trying to live in our life. So when person comes in with dis-ease in their bodies, I would first recognize the fact that yes, you are experiencing something on a physical body, but most likely that it's not where it originates. It originates in the spiritual realm and originates in the thought forms that first somehow it became so powerful that it then materialized in your body. I love to say the same, when you lift the veil of duality, you will see the light. What does that mean? When we are constantly struggling in a physical body from right to wrong, from black to white, from disease to health, we constantly are in the battle of forcing. But,
Mm.
because we are trained that if you have something that doesn't feel good in your body, you have to get rid of it, and you are get on the mission. It's like, this is it. It needs to come out of my body. It needs to be killed, it needs to be destroyed because in order for me to be happy and spiritual, I have to have this thing gone. Well, everyone knows now that one of the law of physics states that you cannot destroy nor make energy, but you can
Yeah.
transform it. It's the same way is it with dis-ease, but you cannot do it as easily with the physical body. You have to lighten itself up. And what I like to do first is to acknowledge it. Yes, it's there. Okay, you feel it. It is real to you, but then let's just neutralize it. So the neutralization is we step out of the duality and we bring in it into it is whatever it is. It's not good or bad, it's just is. And once we realize that it is whatever it is, then we can go a little bit above that and we start recreating the process of what do you want to experience
Mm.
in this particular lifetime, in this particular body. And can we see possibly that this ease in your body is trying to tell you something?
Mm.
Maybe in this lifetime you are carrying some burdens that doesn't belong to you. Maybe it is on a DNA level, maybe it's in the past lives, but more than anything, if you neutralize it, you kind of have a bird's eye view over it versus you right in the pain, in the suffering.
Mm.
And it's probably easier say than done. And people would say, well, if I'm in pain, I cannot even think about these spiritual thoughts. I totally understand that. That's when we would go first into the physical body and try to bring sources in to relieve that body from the acute pain. And again, everybody is very individually unique. And I don't have a recipe, step by step that I can copy and paste. I truly feel that we get guided as a guides, as a spiritual teachers to bring the wisdom through for every single person uniquely
Yes.
new. I do not believe in cookie cutter recipes because
Yes.
we are not cookie cutter. We all come from
Mm.
a very different basis, different backgrounds, DNAs, and so on and so forth.
Yes, yes. So the blend should be customized specifically to a specific individual. I totally agree. Which also makes me wonder for skeptics, do you find that people resist these concepts at first, or maybe they are secretly craving this deeper understanding?
I was one of those people. So I totally understand. I have been growing up in communism where religion was not just not there, but forbidden. And any kind of a concept of abstract, like angels or anything like this, some kind of deity, that was not part of our surroundings. So, skeptic, yes, you would call me that. However, all you need is to open your mind. If you just open your mind to possibilities, things can come in. So I do not work with close minded people, but I love skeptics who are open minded.
Hmm, true, true. Who are like open to take suggestions, to understand them, to think about that. And then they get to decide if that specific process is correct for them or not. Right.
Yes, and more, and you know what also happens? I noticed when they enter into a quantum field of mine or someone else's like me, they already are curious, right? Something was drawing to them to me, and the minute they do so, even though I perhaps was not helping them to the level that they wanted to, their mind already open, and I feel that the universe will somehow teach them if it has to be through hardship or just curiosity. It will open them up in one way or another.
Yes, yes. I feel like there's this tension, if I can say, between curiosity and hesitation. And I feel like that's something maybe our listeners also wrestle with quietly. And often so it happens that this hesitation becomes even louder when the body starts speaking. So let's talk about that too. As a medical intuitive working alongside traditional healthcare, what patterns do you see in individuals who are physically unwell but spiritually or emotionally disconnected?
Yes, I find that that marriage between the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical is so important. And the reason why me and the doctor we work together is that think about it. An American system, when you go to the physical doctor, um, they do not necessarily ask you how you feel, and
Mm,
certainly they don't ask you about your spiritual beliefs. And then you maybe searching to find some peace in a psychiatrist office, and they
mm,
do some deep work with you. Maybe you can even do some hypnotherapy that is beneficial. But those files do never come across back to the physical doctor. The physical doctor does not have any idea what is happening to that body, the physical body, through these changes. And the other way around, the psychiatrist most likely is not going to get the files from the physical doctors to see.
mm,
So it is really big disconnect from the body and the mind. And forget the
mm,
spirituality. That's not even happening. So we were doing something very, very unique where we collaborated back and forth, and we had seen the changes because we working as the holistic system,
mm,
and that is what is missing in people's lives. You cannot make compartments of your body. It is the whole body, including the ones that you don't see, which is the spiritual, the ether, the subtle, the however you want to call it. Those are probably even more so important because that's where the uh, potentiality of dis-ease lies. And many intuitives can pick that up before it actually starts sinking deeply into the physical body. So it's almost like a preventative work I often had picked up things that they told me later that they had been um, validated by X-rays or by other doctors. And I'm hoping that in the future we will be bridging those two worlds, as I written my first book, Journey of You,
Mm.
where we can bridge both of it. It doesn't have to be the Eastern medicine versus the Western medicine. It could
Yeah.
be and. It's a beautiful bridge. And we need to embrace both. And specifically, the medical doctors have to open their mind that the ancient medicine, the Vedic or the Asian, have been around for over 5,000 years. And they have a very good track record versus the Western medicine are just still in a diapers. It's over what, 200, 300 years old.
Mm. Mm.
I'm not saying it's not important. It saves lives, and it's with the AI help, they becoming big players into a medicine. But we really need to bring in the ancient wisdom where we do not need the science. We
Mm.
just get the track record. And it's beautiful that more and more people are bringing the science forward, that the Ayurveda, for example, is teaching. And you can find it in pubmed.com. Like there's so many of wonderful individual who is bringing this work forward if for the skeptics out there.
Mm.
And amazing doctors who dedicating his life towards bringing Ayurveda forward to the scientific world is Dr. Doulard from life.com. Again, if you are a skeptic about any of this, please research it yourself. But it is time. It really is time to start both worlds.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And I feel like healing is something which should not be limited to just physical body. Healing should be a process where equal importance is given to both the inner self and the physical self. And your experience really brings visibility to the truth that the body often echoes what the spirit suppress. I feel like.
100%. You said it so beautifully. I don't even know what to add to that because it's so true. You know, people go and spend time in church on Sunday, or they go and do yoga on Wednesday
Mm.
morning, and they have these glimpse of their inner work that they slightly touch. But we need more. We need to weave those these inner connections into
Yeah.
the physical. It doesn't have to be, like I said, and it is, I'm sorry, versus. It's together. It's weaving together. And I feel that the wonderful bridge to it is asking questions.
Mm.
Questions of something like, well, how does the flowers turn red?
Mm.
How does the rainbow becomes colorful, and where the colors come from? Why does my hair is blonde and John's brown? Like when we start asking these questions, we start tapping into the mysteries.
Yes.
And we are part of the mystery because we are part of nature. And I do not think we will ever master it. None of us. And it always will remain mystery. But isn't that what is so fascinating and so magical about this life? Is that we are um, get enchanted by the magic of mysteries, just like children love their bedtime stories. We can't stop being children and wonder about the world around us when we
Yeah.
know everything. And I feel that the skeptics are exactly that. They so afraid of shaking up their belief system.
Mm.
They're afraid because they do not know what they're going to do with that information. Where I'm going to file it, what system in my brain I'm going to be put it in, so I don't go crazy because it is something so new. I don't know how I'm going to process it and digest it.
Yes.
And when universe hears that, universe is very gentle and it will bring it gentleness into that soul. And people do not need to be afraid. They just need to be open minded.
True, true. I feel like we as a humans are way too focused on the surface level disconnection that we don't get into the deeper roots. So I would love to talk about that too. Dr. Lenka, you often work with people who feel unseen, stuck, or delusioned by modern wellness. What is usually the hidden root beneath that sense of disconnection?
Fear.
Hmm.
That would be probably the number one. The disconnection is from fear. And the heavier they are, the more the body is in pain, the more fear they hold in themselves. And the fear is heaviness, right? So often the fear is hiding behind other feelings, who could be anger, resentment, sadness, grief, very deep grief. And it's not necessarily grief of losing a, mom or sister or husband. It could be grief of not fulfilling their life's dream, not being able to express the creativity that they hold in within their soul. When the soul is not being recognized, and this was the first question you asked me, and I'm going back to it, because when the soul is not recognized and you are pushing 40s, you pushing 50s, the
Mm.
soul will be louder and louder through the body. The body will be speaking much louder than in your 20s and 30s. So it's something to think about, because I also say that the body is our ultimate divination tool. And if our body is healthy and we maintain, and not even maintaining it, but we honor it and we treat it as a temple for our soul, then the soul will be in a happy place, and you will can see it radiating through the people's bodies. You can radiate through your body via your soul. When you know what I'm talking about. You can see a person and they absolutely vibrating. Okay, well, maybe they hop a little bit because their hip hurts, or they are not having the perfect posture, or maybe they have some little issues, but it doesn't stop them from living full life. Because we have to also ask ourselves, what does healthy mean to us, right? What does it mean to you? Maybe you have diabetes, maybe you're blind, maybe you're missing a limb, but maybe you are also very thriving inside, and you are happy to be alive,
Yeah.
versus someone is constantly chasing that artificial um, uh, pretentious looks
Mm.
of the face with wrinkles and muscles, toned abs, and they're not feeling alive. They are dead inside. So this is where the disconnection comes in. And when we are going back into the soul will be speaking to us with our dis-ease in our body mainly. So let's start listening.
Yes, yes. And I feel like we've figured out the root cause. I feel like most of the times it's fear, right?
Yes, it's fear of okay, so we have majority of our I'm not sorry. If we go back into um the main forces in the universe, it's love and fear. That's it.
Oh. Mm.
And then, the love has all these higher concepts like compassion and understanding and grace and joy. And then the fear embodies all um the anger and pride and desire. And desire is like, I can go both ways, but
Mm.
empathy, guilt, and shame. And all of these goes underneath that. And so when we realize that, we can always ask ourselves, does this feel good or not? Is this thought or a feeling of emotion, is this creating something, or is destroying? Is the thought that I have is a destroying thought on any level, or is it creating thought? Because that's the only thing we do. Every single breath we take, or every action we do, it's a creative or destructive. So if we say something negative about ourselves,
Mm.
that's a destructive force working through us. And of course, our body's going to listen to it, because our cells are very intelligent, and they're listening to our thoughts, and of course our words, but mostly our thoughts. And the
Mm.
feelings, of course, are amplifiers of
Yeah.
that. And when we start shifting those things, just simple, like start asking yourself, we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. Can we start with at least 10%? Can you start with
Mm.
that? Or maybe 5%, or maybe five thoughts a day. Can you catch them and say, okay, well, hold on a second. Where did that came from? Can I change it? Where did it came from? Like, that's not mine. You see,
Mm.
we don't even know. And when we realize it, we start shifting and changing completely our awareness because we become curious, we become childlike, and we see it that there is a different parts of us that is very creative, and that is what nature is. And we're going back to the nature. We are the nature, and the nature wants to create constantly, wants to
Yeah.
create and not destroy. That is not part of nature. It has season. So I am not saying that having a winter or fall season where the leaves are falling down, it's destruction. Far from it. It is just
Yes.
taking a pause and regrouping for the next season.
Yes, yes. And I love that's because that's such a practical takeaway. Start having a slow, steady thought process and be nearer to nature. I feel like those are the first two steps one needs to start to get away from this sense of disconnection.
Yes. Yes, very much so. We can start with nature, look around, and try to understand nature, and then you will try to understand yourself because all the answers truly are in our nature around us.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And Dr. Lenka, if someone wants to start cultivating consciousness and spiritual awareness today, what simple practical practice would you recommend as their first step?
Awareness. So when we see awareness and the word consciousness, it's the same thing. And getting some kind of base level, it's very helpful. So for example, you sit down in your living room or kitchen or wherever you are and start paying attention. What's around you?
Mm,
So do you have plants? Do you have artwork? What kind of artwork? Where does it came from? Where did you buy it? Why did you buy it? What kind of colors are around you? Why do you have the colors? Do you like the colors or was it somebody else's? Do you watch a show? What kind of show do you like? Why do you like the show? What interests you about the show? Do you have friends? Why do you like the friends? Where did you find them? They still resonate with you. All of these things, and I can go on and on and on, will tell you what level of consciousness you are on. And if some of this answers comes back to say, "Oh, I don't know. Oh, it always been like that." Oh, those are maybe something to look into because when we are in a relationship with our surroundings that no longer inspire us, and inspired comes from the word in spirit, right? So there's no spirit in that relationship, if it's a art or friend or thought process, we have to um invite another one in. Make it, just like I was saying about the fall brings leaves down from the tree, and sometimes it's time for us to kind of clean up our closets too, and bring in new with the wind, bring new into our world and expand. And then the expansion, the awareness and the expansion brings another level of consciousness. And I
mm,
see consciousness as an elevator where we all start, in a basement. Well, actually, it's the other way around. We actually are born very, very, very aware. So
mm,
somehow we start from the penthouse, we get down to the basement, and we kind of going back again to the penthouse. So that's the whole point of view. Our soul knows what we are part of, but our human consciousness, we seldom are aware of it. So that is the goal, to bring the soul an alignment with our humanness, where we are capable of expressing our soul through our human experience. I
yes.
love this because the first 30 years or maybe 40, depends where you are and who you are there to collect experiences,
Mm,
collect experiences that make you safe and secure, but also, you create families, you create businesses, you are a very creative being. And after you have all that, then the season of the summer is ending. And now in the fall season, when you are in your 50s, you are there to collect all that harvest, and
mm,
you can share it with others. And that is where the consciousness opens up. It's like, oh my gosh, in this 40 or 50 years, I have done all of this. This is so wonderful. And you need to see it like that. And even if it was a struggle and pain, there is still gifts in it. And it's just the what level of the elevator you are in. and how far do you want to go? And this is such a beautiful journey because from the 50 to the 80s or 90s or 100, this is where we are concentrating more on the soul. And trust me, the healing does not happen in a physical body by the physical body. The physical body gets healed by the spirit, and people don't realize that. The spirit is what makes the body strong. And
Mm.
when we are inviting that spiritual aspect of ourselves in with our food, with our exercises, with our spiritual practices, our body is literally strong and vital. And you can just see it from many gurus out there. They don't go to the gym. They don't work out 5 times a week with some weights. They have this magical experiences within themselves that creates unbelievable results. So we have still so much to learn, and I'm just scratching the surface.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. And I love how you said that the first step is awareness, awareness of your surroundings, awareness of your body, awareness of your likes and dislikes. I feel like that's such a grounded suggestion, and it can help all our listeners feel capable of starting without pressure or perfection.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So thank you for that, Dr. Lenka. So, but yes, we've come to an end of our episode. But before we wrap it up, for our listeners who would love to connect with you, please tell them the ways to do so.
Thank you. It's really easy. My email is actually my website is Lenka at .org. So lenka.org, lenka.org. Very simple. And everything you can find is there. I also have social media that is easily um, findable through my website. That's the easiest. And I want to thank you very much for having me on your show. And you were a wonderful hostess.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lenka. It's truly a pleasure to have you on the show. So, I would love to tell our listeners that all the ways as to how to connect with Dr. Lenka, the website, the social media links will be in our show notes. So, I request all our listeners to go and check that too. Thank you, Dr. Lenka. It was a wonderful conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for eliminating the subtle yet profoundly important connections between intuition, consciousness, and healing. Your wisdom reminds us that the deepest form of health arises when we listen inwardly and live in alignment with our truest self. To everyone tuning in, let this conversation be an invitation to slow down, to listen to the quiet wisdom within, and to reclaim the parts of yourself that have waited patiently to be acknowledged. Inner peace begins where self awareness meets courage, and that journey can start the moment this episode ends. So, thank you for tuning in. This has been your host, Charu, and you've been listening to Inner Peace, Better Health, where peace is power and overthinking is overrated.